Until today, large handouts of food here in Haiti were being done pretty much exclusively by relief workers. But today, the Haitian government tried to carry out its first large-scale food handout. The results were, well, mixed, as we showed you earlier. Here's the video again. Turned into a free-for-all where people started shoving, and crowd control, what little there was, broke down. So it goes as Haiti tries to move forward. The road to recovery, no doubt, is going to be a long one. Carl Penhaul, Ivan Watson, join me now. Carl, when food is handed out, I mean, I talked to the Red Cross. They don't use security at all, but they go in and advance the communities. They work with like kind of leaders in the communities, and they haven't had trouble. I guess, you know, the Haitian government just kind of went in and went about it the wrong way.
Absolutely. I mean, what happened today was an absolute disaster. I mean, you see aid workers, or the Haitian government workers rather, standing on top of those trucks, tossing food supplies into the crowd with no more regard to human beings than if they were animals. And aid cannot be done that way. Yesterday or the day before, we also saw Brazilian peacekeepers spraying pepper spray onto a crowd. It's an indication that Haitians are hungry, they are on the brink, and they have to keep their dignity along with the help of the aid workers. They've got to figure out a way of giving hungry people aid so that it doesn't spill over into violence.
And yet, Ivan, we've seen food handouts that go very well. You were there at that golf course, the U.S. handing out food. It all went well.
Yeah, it seems to depend on the situation. I saw Argentinian peacekeepers actually run away after food distribution got out of control last Sunday. And what was really striking was seeing hundreds and hundreds of Haitians running after them for more than a mile, not knowing if they'd ever stop this convoy that just kind of sped away when it couldn't control the situation.
Ivan, you've also been looking at the electrical needs of the city. I mean, most people do not have electricity. We're going off a generator right now.
Absolutely. We take it for granted, really, that most of this city, for more than 2 weeks now, after sunset, people are relying on candles, matches, the glow of a cell phone. And we did look into the efforts to restart the power grid. There are crews out there. They're trying to put up power lines. They're trying to restart the substations, the distribution stations. But it's really important to point out that the electric power grid here was already terrible before the earthquake. On the average, a neighborhood could maybe get 8 hours of electricity a day. And we've talked to the U.S. government, USAID, and the military. They don't have no idea when they can start the power again.
And like these cables, which are draped all over the place, they're falling down. I mean, it fell the other night. I was on another street today. It almost seemed like it was buckling, going to fall in our car. We quickly drove off.
And what we saw was at one of the main power stations, a big problem clearly was not the earthquake damage, but before that, neglect of the generators. Yeah. Half of them weren't running.
Carl, you've been going out still with French search and rescue teams. I was surprised that you told me they're still out there searching for people. And they found someone yesterday, the 16-year-old girl.
Exactly. They found the 16-year-old girl yesterday. Today, we see them in a ravine there. They'd been called by people who thought they heard one of their neighbors crying from beneath the ruins. And it's an eerie scene. You see the ravine there, houses just fallen into the ravine in bits of rubble, and there's smoke and fire coming out of the ravine. And the French just are standing there. They continue looking. They're searching against time, against all the odds. They still believe in the impossible. We talked to one of the French doctors. He says, I've got an 11-year-old daughter back in France. He says, when I bring a 16-year-old out of the ruins yesterday, he says, there's nothing else I can do. I have to go on. Talked to another of the French guys there, and he says, you know, when we pull somebody out, we all hug one another, we celebrate, and then we cry. He says, but one thing we're not going to give up is give up. And he's pointing to the fact that in Pakistan, I believe he said, there was a woman that was found after 65 days in very different circumstances.
Yeah, she had access to food and water. She was trapped in her kitchen, I think. I read that.
Exactly. But this is the kind of thing that they're just saying to everybody, hey, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep going.
Carl Penhaul, I've been watching, guys. Thank you very much. Coming up at the top of the hour, newborn kids of the quake and what is being done to help them. First, though, another look at the remarkable outpouring of hope we saw on the streets earlier tonight. We'll be right back.